So I had a conference in Tasmania and a whole lot of airports, so I decided to go back via Brisbane. And that meant, because it was the middle of winter, I could do a cycle tour in the middle of winter, which is something you just don't do here in New Zealand. And I'd heard good things about the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail. I didn't want a particularly difficult sort of trip because I had a whole lot of conference gear with me, and this seemed to be absolutely perfect. Starts off in Ipswich, so I rode the train from the airport to the middle of town and then out to Ipswich for next to no money with my bike. The track starts soon after the westernmost train station in the town, and at first it's on hard surface, on concrete, before giving way to sort of classic rail trail. It's not particularly steep, as you can see here, but you do go uphill a reasonable amount for the first 2 days. So whereas the first day was along the flats and alongside the river through some lovely quaint country towns, the second day was a little bit more appealing to me because it had a lot more native forest and some wildlife, some kangaroos and koala, which are always fun if you're a New Zealander. And surprisingly, the star of the day is the big long hill before Yarraman. I don't usually rate hills as the star of any trip, but it was in this case. I think that comes down to the railway thing. The angles, the ascent is not very sharp, and you can grind it out quite nicely while looking around at some wonderful native forest. to this place because of the reputation of the Brisbane Valley Railway Trail, but I knew there were other options after that. I just hadn't really thought them through. So I was surprised to find out that the Nanango stock route between Yarraman and Kingaroy was just absolutely awesome. It was very remote. I think that's what appealed to me on that particular day. Again, there was lots of wildlife, quite a bit of forest, a few fords, and a bit of water. It was good to see after so many drylands earlier on. And this might have seemed like a short day. It was about 50 k's, I think, but it took quite a long time because the track got a bit rough in places. But that was really good for my then current state of mind. The idea of doing some truly off-road mountain biking in the middle of winter, again, it's just so odd from a New Zealand perspective, but odd in such a good way. Again, I of course knew of the Kingaroy to Kilkivan rail trail, but it had only opened relatively recently compared with the Brisbane Valley Rail Trail. So, I didn't read too much about it before I left. I just knew that parts of it were a bit rough and not surfaced yet, and that you could ride the road if you needed to, and having those options seemed a good way of continuing back towards Brisbane rather than just returning via the way I went. So I just took the risk and left, and found it was actually quite tame, and yet again really enjoyable. Really good infrastructure and facilities here. Day 5, well, less so. Not so great facilities for biking. I was just on a road. It was a bit busy and there wasn't much of a shoulder. But I decided it was time for me to get back to doing some work. So the quickest way to do that was to bike to Gympie and its train station, which I took with my bike all the way into Brisbane, met up with some people, did a bit of work, and then flew home from Brisbane Airport. What a great trip. Awesome.